Okay, thanks so much, Irina. Thank you and EIFL for organizing this session, and thanks everybody for tuning in. I know it's a morning for some of you, an afternoon and evening, because I think we have people signed up from all over the world. So I'm looking forward to this. My name is Brian Rosenblum. I'm a librarian at the University of Kansas, and I run a small DH center there. And as Irina said, I'm here with Quinn Dombrowski from University of Stanford. The purpose of today's session is really to share some opportunities for networking and collaboration in the areas of digital humanities, and to hopefully spur some conversation and see where all of our communities of our three initiatives might come together. So I'm going to share my screen now. Give me a second. Okay, is that working for everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Global Outlook Digital Humanities, or GoDH, is a community of digital humanities practitioners that was formed to bring a global perspective to a field that has really been shaped by scholars from the global north. And GoDH does this through work on special projects and events, through advocacy and publicity, and by encouraging collaboration among individual projects and researchers and discussion about these issues. So I'm going to just give a brief overview of GoDH and its goals and background, and then we'll hand it over to Quinn to talk about some specific projects. And then we'll end by letting everyone know how to get involved and encouraging you to do so. So let me just start out by stating what I actually just said, which is that digital humanities in its global institutional form, that is, its professional organizations, peer-reviewed publications, grant funding, international collaborations, is dominated by an Anglo-American perspective in which the global north is the center and the global south is the periphery. The largest and most influential professional organization for digital humanities is the Alliance of Digital Humanities Organizations, or ADHO. ADHO is comprised of several other constituent organizations, primarily national organizations, along with regional or language-based organizations, along with several special interest groups, or SIGs. And it is through ADHO and these other organizations that we find the main channels for networking, scholarly exchange in the digital humanities, peer-reviewed journals, conferences, training, and funding opportunities. Now, ADHO and its allied organizations host fantastic conferences, important DH events, and produce very useful, important resources. And I highly recommend that folks here look into their various interest groups and resources. And I know we have a number of librarians on the call today. And so in particular, I would recommend looking into the libraries and digital humanities interest group. But the ADHO annual conference is very expensive. It's hard to travel to. And as Rupika Risam, in her recent book on post-colonial digital humanities, mentions, particular regions have come to dominate the digital humanities scene through ADHO. So it's been overwhelmingly influenced by scholars from the global north who sit on the executive boards of these organizations and the peer review committees of the publications and conferences. Digital humanities projects and research from and about the global south are underrepresented in ADHO's programs. This lack of linguistic and geographical diversity not only affects access to funding, publishing, and conference participation on the part of students and scholars from the Global South, but it also contributes to a narrower conception of what sort of counts as digital humanities, further excluding work from the Global South that may not be seen as fitting in to conventional approaches to digital humanities in the Global North. The Global Outlook Digital Humanities was founded in order to address and counteract some of these issues. In particular, GoDH strives to undo the Global North, South, Center, Periphery binary, increase collaboration among practitioners across the globe, and to highlight and promote local projects, methodologies, and theories. Some of the core principles of GoDH are as follows. In GoDH, scholars from around the world are welcomed as equals. The simplest way to join the community is to sign up for the email discussion list, which is open to anyone. GoDH pushes back against a universal definition of digital humanities, instead advocating for recognition of a range of practices that may look unfamiliar to established professional organizations in the North, but practices which do indeed engage the intersection of the digital and humanistic activity. These practices are necessarily informed by local language, culture, resources, needs, and values. GoDH encourages conference and journal reviewers to recognize this wide range of practices, and GoDH advocates for diversity within the governing bodies of ADHO and its affiliated organizations. And perhaps most usefully for our conversation today, GoDH promotes the development of its own community and networks, creates space for non-hierarchical communication and collaboration through an email discussion list, through social media, and through a range of projects and multilingual initiatives, some of which Quinn will share with you in just a moment. At the same time, GoDH provides a connection between the global community of DH practitioners and ADHO. We have a formal connection to ADHO as a special interest group, and we continue to explore ways in which we can best connect global networks to each other, both inside professional communication channels, that is to ADHO and professional organizations, and outside of those institutional channels through the listserv and other projects. So our challenge is to foster this kind of collaboration across geographic, cultural, linguistic, and economic borders without replicating a hierarchical center-periphery relationship. And the GoDH listserv also acts as a place to discuss these kinds of challenges and issues. So that's a very brief overview of the motives and purpose of GoDH. And let me now hand it over to Quinn, who can highlight some specific past and upcoming projects and initiatives.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, why don't you keep the screen share on for now?
Okay. Great.
Oh, there's no...
Yeah, I'm sorry, Happiness, it must be on your end, because for us...
maybe we should type that if she can't hear.
How does the sound work for others? Could you hear us?
I hear fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Happiness. Hope your connectivity will get better.
All right. Hi, I'm Quinn Dombrowski from Stanford University, and I'll be talking about some of the specific projects that we're doing in GoDH. Brian, could you hit the next slide? There we go. So as Brian mentioned, GoDH is one of a number of special interest groups within ADHO, and another one that might be relevant to a lot of folks is the Librarians DH Special Interest Group. They don't have a separate website currently, but they have a mailing list. And so if you're interested in signing up for that, here's the link right here that you can use to sign up for the Librarians DH Special Interest Group. GoDH is currently having discussions with its members and with ADHO about the possibility of becoming more than a special interest group, of actually fully joining the ADHO organization as a constituent organization. which would give it a vote on the constituent board and a voice in the direction of the future of ADHO. So if you're interested in participating in that discussion, please join our mailing list, and we'll have links at the ends of the slides as well. All right, next slide, please. Among the actual projects that we're working on right now, one of them is working with the digital studies, the Champ Numérique series, which is the official journal of the Canadian Association for Digital Humanities, to publish a series of articles about global DH as it's practiced in, or about digital humanities as it's practiced in the global south and in other areas of the world that are less visible and less represented among digital humanities. So these are articles that could have been published previously. That's okay. And if it's in a language other than English or French, that's also okay. Please submit it to us, and we work with a volunteer translation board that can translate it into English or French, so that it can be kind of more easily read by a global audience that may not understand the original language of publication. All right, next slide. Another thing that we'll be doing, we're starting the planning now, and we'll start doing this in practice next year, is what we're calling Around DH 2020. So in 2014, Alex Gill, who at that point was involved with Global Outlook DH, created a project called Around DH in 80 Days and brought together a large group of people to identify projects from around the world where people are doing DH, as you can see, both in the global north and the global south. And for each day, for 80 days, they would publish a small paragraph describing the project, giving it a link, giving a little bit of background. And it was extremely well received, and it gave people around the world a sense of what's going on in digital humanities that they may not see at the international conference or in the major journals, but still is kind of an important manifestation of the kind of work that we all share across the globe. So it's been 5 years since this project happened, 6 by the time we start publishing these, and we know that the global landscape of digital humanities has changed a lot. So we're revisiting this, and we're hoping to do it in a slightly more moderate pace of one of these articles every single week for the entire year. And also once a month, we're hoping to publish a State of DH in article that talks about what's going on in DH in a particular region, in a particular discipline, or in some other organization of people, to kind of give a view of DH around the world and around different communities at a level a little bit higher than a project, but less than an entire country. So the link here has a description of the project, along with forms that you can sign up if you'd like to help volunteer, either suggesting your own project or suggesting projects or if you'd like to help us write these or translate these. We'd really love to have any collaboration that you're willing to share with us. Next slide, please. There we go. So along with the Around DH 2020, we're also going to be revisiting this Quantifying DH infographic that Melissa Terrace put together in 2012 based on data from 2011. So it's old. And the methodology that she used, she herself admits after a lot of criticism that it was not a particularly inclusive methodology. Looking at physical centers that had become members of CenterNet, registered users of various websites that are oriented towards, honestly, even the US and the UK, not even necessarily always having as much representation from other areas of Europe, let alone the rest of the world. So we're working with her and a group of volunteers to think about what are some other ways that we can quantify DH in a way that's more inclusive and more representative of everything that's going on, and not just what's going on in the US and the UK, and to some extent in Europe. So that link here, it's the same link to the same blog post, also has a sign up link if you're interested in kind of helping us join the discussion and shape what a new Quantifying DH infographic could look like. Even though many people, including Rupika Risam, have criticized this map, it still keeps getting used. It was used in the DH 2019 keynote by Johanna Drucker. So we'd really like to be able to put something together that can be a new point of reference that doesn't participate in this ongoing erasure of work in the Global South. All right, next slide. There we go. All right, so you can right now get involved with DH right here while you're sitting with your laptop. Please join us. But before you forget and get swept up into your activities for the rest of the day or evening, as the case may be, you can sign up for a mailing list right here. And we're trying to make it a lively place. Sometimes it's more active than others. But you are absolutely welcome and encouraged to send a message introducing yourself, sharing your interests and questions and projects and ideas. We'd really, to some extent, it's recently become more of an announcement list, but we'd love to make it a discussion list, and that's very much welcome on the Global Outlook DH list. Please tell your friends and colleagues and encourage them to sign up too. Particularly as we're having these discussions about what the future of GoDH should look like and shaping some of these projects I've just described. We'd really love to have more voices in those conversations. We have a Twitter account and a Facebook account where we post things and retweet things. And if you're working on something, or if you're having an event, or if you have a really great talk that you'd love us to retweet, feel free to tag us. We're happy to retweet DH events and activities going on all over the world. For our Around DH 2020, please suggest projects that you're involved with or projects that you know about. For this to work out well, we need global perspectives on what you're seeing in your backyard that's different from what other people are seeing. Please submit articles to the cluster, suggest your own project ideas, and we would love you to run for the GoDH exec board as well and participate in that way. Brian, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, thanks, Quinn. No, that was great. I would just maybe add that, just reiterate what you said, stress that membership in GoDH simply consists of signing up for the email list, which allows you to participate in discussions, to vote in elections, and to serve on the GoDH executive board. We'll have, those positions are 2-year positions, and I think the next elections are coming up probably at the end of this year or very beginning of next year. For librarians who are joining us today, I would especially encourage you to, if you're working with scholars at your institutions who are doing digital humanities, point them to GoDH. I would just also say that GoDH is really about the community of members. So it's here for you, it's here for us, and we can make it serve whatever needs that we want. I also was just going to add a couple of older projects which are still of use, and I think there's some interest in reviving discussions around them. One of them is the Minimal Computing Working Group, which explores ways to do digital scholarship and digital work when there are constraints in resources, constraints of bandwidth, constraints of storage, connectivity, or training. So there's a lot of really interesting ideas and approaches coming out of that group. And there's also been a bit of work within GoDH on various translation efforts to help translate articles or translate conference presentations. And there is a group that developed what they call the Translation Toolkit, which provides suggestions and some tools to help event organizers or publishers translate content into multiple languages. So those are also other opportunities to get involved. At think that's about it. So I think at this point we can turn it over to Adam and programming historian, and then we can have some time for Q&A and discussion in a little bit.
And I unfortunately have to drop off and get 3 kids ready for school. But thank you so much for having me this morning. And my email is on the slides and that will be sent out. Or you can find me. I think I'm literally the only person in the world with this name. So yes, I'd love to chat more. And please feel free to get in touch and either directly or by joining the list. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot, Quinn. Have a good day.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So my name is Adam Crymble. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a project that I've been involved with for a number of years called the Programming Historian. And to tell you a little bit about that project and what we're trying to achieve with it, and also how people can get involved in lots of different ways. So the Programming Historian started out as a blog of a Canadian professor named William Turkel, who is interested in digital humanities and digital history about 10 years ago. It was 2008 that he first published this blog. And the lessons in the blog taught people, particularly aimed at historians, how to teach themselves programming skills, Python programming skills, which he thought could help them become better researchers and better teachers and better historians. And he was one of my teachers, actually, when I was an undergraduate student. And I was working for him at the time that this project came out. And it's what I used, actually, to teach myself programming languages. So I am a student of the Programming Historian. And I said to him, you know, I think there might be a market out here for more people that want to be able to teach technical skills to historians, to people that are interested in the humanities. But there's not really anywhere where you can publish that material right now. So I convinced him that we should turn this into a publication and use the publishing model that academic journals use. So we've got a peer review system, and we've got an open publishing system where everything just goes up freely online on our website, programminghistorian.org. And what we do is we publish the methodology or the skills behind a lot of the technical or the digital stuff that people have been doing for the past decade or so, really. So what we see ourselves as is really, I think, an ongoing textbook for digital skills that is originally conceived as something that was targeted at historians, but I think we've had to recognize that actually there's a much bigger market out there. We know we get a lot of contributions and readers who are interested in humanities more broadly, and we know that there's a lot of people in libraries and archives and similar institutions that have also started using our materials to teach themselves skills. And those skills are not just programming skills. They're much wider than that now. And I'm going to show you a few examples just to give you a sense of some of the types of things that you can learn through our lessons. So the lessons themselves come from people all around the world. They're peer-reviewed and checked by people all around the world as well. So they're not just materials that we've put together ourselves. And the big advantage of that is that we now have quite a wide set of skills available. So you can see on the front page here, this is the front page that I'm showing on my screen, we have 80 lessons that have now been published in the English language. And we're very happy to report, actually, we also now have publications in 3 different languages. And this is part of our endeavors to, I think, picking up on what Brian and Quinn was saying, to make sure that we are reaching out to as many different corners of the world as possible. So we've had a Spanish team, which has been operating for a few years now. They started by translating lessons that were originally written in English, and you can see we have 44 lessons in Spanish to 80 in English. They've also now started actually publishing Spanish first lessons. So these are lessons that don't exist in English. They're written by Spanish speakers to tackle some of the issues that are really key to what's happening in the Spanish-speaking world. And we recognize, particularly in places like South America, maybe the needs of scholars or of librarians in South America are not the same as the learning needs of people in England or the United States. So it's important to make sure that we're reaching out and creating a platform where people all around the world can contribute in either English, Spanish, or French, and hopefully more in the future. But that's one of the big steps that we've sort of taken towards making this more globally accessible for people to contribute to and also to learn from. And I think we were really inspired to do that when we started looking at our traffic logs, and we realized that India was our #2 source of traffic. And we didn't think there was a lot, at least not tens of thousands of digital humanists living and working in India. So we recognized that actually there are people in lots of different contexts that feel that they could benefit from learning digital skills. And so we've opened up as much as we can to try to make sure that digital skills are widely accessible. So I'll just take you through a couple of bits of our site just to familiarize you if you've not been to our site before. Firstly, some of our philosophies. So everything has been peer reviewed and checked multiple times by multiple people. Because our tutorials are designed for self-learning, so this is something that you would do on your own in most cases, although you might be fortunate enough to have somebody teaching you in a workshop situation or a classroom situation. We need to make sure that these resources are going to work so that you don't get frustrated, so that you don't get stuck and not know where to turn. So we put everything through a rigorous peer review to make sure that everything should be there to let you teach yourself these skills, or at least the basics of the skills that we provide. We're also committed to open source, and that is because, firstly, we don't need the money in order to do this. We've found ways to do it with free tools, and we also wanted to make sure that everybody anywhere in the world who has an internet connection has access to it. We didn't want to be part of the problem of subscription-based resources. We've worked quite hard as well. You can see we have a diversity policy. So we've worked quite hard to make sure that we've got safe spaces for people to contribute. We want to make sure that we are a positive force within the digital humanities world where anybody, regardless of who they are or who they want to be, has a place where they can contribute to the project. And I think that's really underpinned some of our efforts as well to globalize the project and make sure that we're getting as many different types of voices involved in sculpting this as possible. So if anybody is interested in contributing, I'll give you some ideas for how you might do that in just a second. We would certainly welcome people, even people who come from places that perhaps have not yet written a lesson or who have not yet contributed a review. Now, in terms of our lessons, I'm going to show you the English page first, just because I'm speaking in English, which I think probably means most of you can speak in English as well. But what we've got is a long list of our lessons. I'll just scroll down so you can see each one of our lessons with a little bit of one-sentence description of what it teaches. And then we've got some options at the top where you can actually filter through depending on what types of skills that you want to learn. So just to start off, we've got these 5 blue buttons at the top, and it tells you how many lessons fall under each of those categories. So this is really set up with a researcher in mind, I think, the 5 stages of a research project, which may or may not apply to all of you. But for example, if you're interested in presenting historical information digitally, you can click on that tab, and then all of a sudden our 80 lessons become 18, and you can look for something that might be interesting. So we've got something on augmented reality, something on building application programming interfaces, something on Twitter bots. And actually, I'll click on the Twitter bot one just to give you a sense of what these lessons actually look like. So introduction to Twitter bots with tracery. So a Twitter bot is basically a small program that you write that will automatically tweet things on Twitter for you using instructions that you give it. Obviously, this could be used to spam people. We hope you'll use it for more interesting uses than that. But what we have is a step-by-step tutorial which introduces you to the idea of Twitter bots and then takes you through some examples that you can follow along for how to implement one. And then by the time you get to the bottom of it, you should have the skills to be able to customize what you've learned and apply it to your own project. So that's kind of the model that we use. We give you a specific example, which is hopefully interesting to people who are interested in cultural heritage or the humanities. And that is based around giving you some generalized skills that you can then apply to your own work. I'll just take you back to the filtering options again so we can reset that so we have all of our lessons. We also have these gray buttons here which allow you to filter by different types of information, different types of digital skills. So perhaps you're interested in linked open data, which is something that I know a lot of libraries are interested in these days. And we've got 2 lessons available there. One on introduction to the principles of linked open data. So if you need to know, well, what is this? What do I need to know? Then that's maybe a place for you to go. And then Matthew Lincoln, who's a part of our team, has also written a lesson using Sparkle, which is a way of accessing linked open data. So these are the types of lessons. There is no real starting point to these because it really depends on your individual needs and what you might need to learn for your specific role. So we don't think of it as a course that you would go through and do all the lessons. We think of it as a resource where you would find what you need and then spend some time with those lessons that teach the skills that you're looking to learn. We also have the option of switching between the different languages. So the buttons at the top here, we can switch and we can see the index page for the Spanish language lessons. And some of these are not available in English. We hope to translate them soon, but this one, for example, by Silvia Gutierrez is only available in Spanish, analyzing a corpus with Voyant tools, which is a corpus linguistics tool. So we welcome you to use these resources, either to teach yourself new skills or maybe to help facilitate workshops for your colleagues or for people that you support. We also have ways that you can get involved in the project if you'd like. One of the ways that we've created opportunities is we've started trying to host workshops around the world. So we had our first workshop last year in Bogota in Colombia, where we brought together 22 people to write lessons in Spanish and then submit those lessons for review. The one I just showed you is one of the lessons that came through that process. So that was really exciting. That was funded by the British Academy. And it worked so well that actually we're hoping to expand that and offer it in a number of different locations as well. So we have a funding bid in at the moment where we're hoping to do something similar in West Africa, do another one in Mexico, and hopefully another one in South Africa. So this is something where we're looking to bring people together to share the skills that they have, and then the idea being that you'd publish those with the programming historian and get your ideas out there for other people to learn from. So ways you can contribute. We have a few different ways. So you can write a lesson, and we've got instructions, quite detailed instructions on what that involves and how you might start going about that process. We've also got people who help with editing and reviewing lessons. So these are the people that do the testing, make sure everything works, provide feedback so that people can produce the best possible lesson that they can so that people can teach themselves these new skills. Anybody who has translation experience or multilingual experience, we've also got opportunities where we would be happy to have more people engaging with our translation process, because again, we want all of these ideas to be shareable in as many languages as possible. And of course, we're always open to people adding us to their library catalog. And we've had some great help by some librarians in the past to create WorldCat library listings. So if you do control your library catalog, we do have WorldCat entries, and we'd be happy for you to add us to your catalog and share high quality free resources, which we think is important in this day and age. And we're also happy to hear from anybody who has ideas or who wants to collaborate or who wants to get in touch with something we haven't thought of necessarily. And we've got lots of contact information available on our website. under our project team, for example. You can see everybody that's involved in the project as well as their contact information. And I'm sure we'd all be happy to hear from you. So this is, we think it's an important resource. We get over 1 million users a year around the world. Everything is done for free. And it's something that we're really looking to engage with more diverse audiences. And we definitely would be happy to hear from any of you, not only if you want to contribute, but also if there are skills that you think we're missing that would really help you or your colleagues do the type of work that you want to do. Let us know, because we also do keep track of ideas for lessons, things that we want people to write lessons on. So we are here to support you, and we welcome your engagement. And I think I will pass it back to Irina with that, and she can help facilitate any questions you might have.
Thanks a lot, Adam. That's very interesting, and I think it answers the questions that INU had about his need, or her need to teach digital humanities, and you already showed excellent materials that could be used there. So please, any other comments or questions, and please use either chat or Q&A functionality. And while you are thinking about your questions, I could also talk a little bit about EIFL plans in the area of training. We are designing a training framework on digital research skills, and we hope to help librarians to be better skilled in new digital research approaches, and also we hope to help them to be more efficient in training researchers on these new digital research skills. And we're looking into not only into humanities, but also looking into sciences and medicine, and I hope when we'll be rolling out this training framework, we'll collaborate with Adam and with Brian to add more specific materials to digital humanities. So INU is asking, how can I get programming historian workshop?
Well, if we get money to host a workshop, then what we did in the past was we would put out a call for people who are interested in participating. So that was posted via our website. We also share it on social media, so you can follow us on Twitter if you're on Twitter. If you want to have somebody to teach you a particular lesson, we don't have a mechanism in place for that, but we certainly would be interested in hearing ideas for how we might get more personalized workshop opportunities available. So if you have an idea for how we could make that work, then please do let us know.
And perhaps one suggestion could be that when I'll send out recording and slides, you'll, Adam, will have all participants list, so maybe you can notify when you have funding for these workshops, and people could approach you with some suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. Then there is also a question from Tamara. Are there any connections between the programming historian and library carpentry?
So library carpentry was started by James Baker, who is now a member of our programming historian board. So yes, in that sense, but in terms of us working directly together, no. I think unlike what Brian has done with his project, we have kind of kept to ourselves, and we've not really become part of the ADHO group or any other groups. And I'm not sure if that's been to our benefit in terms of having the freedom to pursue what we're interested in, or if we've missed opportunities. But no, there are no formal connections between us and library carpentry.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Perhaps I can ask a question to our participants. If you're looking for training materials that you would like to reuse in your own training settings, would you be happy with online training materials, for example, those lessons that Adam showed, or some online courses that could be maybe embedded into your Moodle systems? Or would you still like to have traditional PowerPoint presentation templates with some information, or maybe some recorded tutorials with audio or video? I don't know if you have any opinion about that. That would be useful for us in terms of planning our training program.
I think our position with the programming historian is that we don't see what we offer as a replacement for in-person training opportunities. So while we focus our energies on these online resources, we do hope that other people are still providing the in-person opportunities that remain valuable.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments to Adam or to Brian?
I was just going to add that I saw earlier some questions about DH curriculum and access to resources. And so I would just again reiterate that the Go DH mailing list could be a really good place to send those kinds of inquiries. There's about I think currently there's about 500 people subscribe to the list. Not all of them are active, but it does have quite a wide reach. And any questions posted to that list will get a response from someone in that community.
When we had a registration for this workshop, we offered this opportunity to ask a question, and a number of people asked how would they start a digital humanities project in a library. I don't know if that's an easy question to pick, and do you have a short piece of advice about that?
Brian, you work in a library. Did you want to take that one first?
Oh, it's not an easy question, but there are so many types of digital humanities projects. It really depends on what the overall goals are and the resources. So the only thing I can really say is to not jump into it and immediately, but start planning, thinking about the long-term goals for the project. There are resources online. One that comes to mind is called the Social Technical Sustainability Workshop or Sustainability Roadmap, which has a whole set of steps and modules in terms of planning out the digital projects, identifying goals, identifying resources, identifying stakeholders, who needs to be involved. So it helps step you through that process to ensure that the project is scaled right for your resources and your needs, and has a greater chance of being sustained into the future. And I can post a link to that here in the comments. So there are some kind of frameworks around that, and I would really suggest following that or following something similar as a way to guide your planning.
I think I would just add that you should start with a problem rather than start looking for a way that you can use digital skills to solve something that isn't necessarily a problem. So what is it that you're doing in your role that you need to improve? And then how could the digital stuff help you do that? So do you need to find a bigger audience? Do you need to preserve materials that are at risk? Do you need to improve the information that you hold on the materials in your collection? Start with the problem and then say, okay, what skills do I need and what tools do I need to be able to solve that issue?
Thanks a lot. And I just looked back at the registration list, and all other questions were related to opportunities for collaborations, and I think that was pretty well covered already by Adam and Brian. So I guess that's the last minute when you can still type in some questions or comments, and if there are none, then thanks a lot for joining this webinar. And like I said, I'll share slides and recording with you, and let's stay in touch. And if you have any questions or suggestions in the future, please also get in touch with us and we'll be happy to collaborate. Thanks a lot, and have a wonderful evening and weekend for those who are ending days, and have a wonderful day to Brian and others who are in a different time zone.
Thank you so much, Irina. Thank you, everybody. And please do feel free to get in touch.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.